There are some mother-daughter experiences that no one ever wants to have, but Linda Petticrew and her daughter Rachel Evans have both had mastectomies for very different reasons. Linda was diagnosed at 34 and went through multiple treatments, part of which led Rachel to make the tough decision to have a prophylactic mastectomy at age 25. She was BRCA1 positive. During this episode, they talk frankly about their experiences and why taking drastic steps is often the very best prevention when it comes to breast cancer. When you subscribe to our show, you help us grow. Someone you know may need to hear this story, so please share with your family and friends. And consider supporting our mission. Your donation can help save the life of an uninsured woman. Let's talk about your breast. A different kind of podcast presented to you by The Rose, a breast center of excellence and a Texas treasure. You're going to hear frank discussions about tough topics, and you're going to learn why knowing about your breast could save your life. So today we have Rachel and Linda here as a mother-daughter team who had their own experience with breast cancer from a very different angle. And I'm so pleased that you're here with us to talk about this. Tell us just a little bit about your story first, Linda. You were diagnosed at 34.
I was, and went through chemo, then surgery, then more chemo, then radiation. It was a year of treatment. And then I was cancer-free for many, many years. And then I had a lumpectomy, so I still had my breast tissue. And then it came back years later. So then years later, in 2018, I had the double mastectomy, and I found out, I was BRCA1 positive, so I'd had a hysterectomy, so I wouldn't have any chance of having ovarian cancer, which I did not want to take that risk.
As we know, BRCA1 can be for both breast
Correct.
And ovarian. So when you were diagnosed, you had a young son, you 4 months old, you
Yes.
were just a very young mother. And then you had Rachel. Mm-hmm. And then Rachel, your story was being raised around cancer all your life. Now you weren't used to anyone, Linda, having cancer, right?
Right. My father's mother had died of uterine cancer, but she died when I was 12 days old. So
yeah.
I never knew her. And, no one in my family had breast cancer. My great aunt had it when she was 80, but they told me that's too far on the relation and too older. So no one in my family until I had it had breast cancer.
Now, very different story for you, Rachel.
I was surrounded by cancer. My mom had cancer before I was born. My aunt had breast cancer. My dad had thyroid cancer. Later in life, when I met my husband, he had gone through cancer treatment. Several of my mom's friends went through breast cancer and different cancer diagnoses. So I grew up being surrounded by those that had beat cancer.
Right. And I think that's such a contrast between the different generations, because there was a time when cancer was not something that you thought you would beat. There was a time it meant death or all the other things, and very frightening. How old were you when you had your BRCA testing?
I was 21.
21. And you decided to have a double mastectomy at what age?
25.
Oh, I mean, that's so young.
When you're 25, you don't think you're young. But looking back, I'm only 30 now, but I was young to make that decision.
Very young.
Young where you are in life with what you've accomplished in life. But when my mom got the diagnosis again, when her cancer came back, there was no other option.
How did you feel, Linda, when you knew Rachel had tested positive?
I felt guilty because, I'm the one that gave it to her. Although, I know there was nothing I could do, but you still feel guilty. And I just felt bad that she had to go through and make these decisions, which I'm so thankful that, she's such a strong woman. And I'm so thankful that she made this decision, because now she doesn't, have to worry about it as
Did
much.
y'all talk about it? Did she consult you when you were thinking about doing this?
We talked a lot about it. So my aunt got the testing done first. She had a positive result. Then you did the testing and got a
Right.
positive result. And then you were very supportive about me having the test done when it was right for me.
Right.
I'm glad that you urged it, though, and that you, I wouldn't say pushy, but that you kept stressing the importance of it. So we did talk a lot about it. We made sure it was the right timing. I don't think my mom wanted me to have it done as quickly as I did, but I was eager. I wanted to know. I wanted to know if it was something that I was going to have to worry about, even though, the symptoms or the diagnosis wouldn't come in, until you were, in your 30s. I really wanted answers.
And so you didn't have your first child until after your mastectomy?
Correct. So I had my mastectomy in 2018, and I welcomed my first child in 2022.
I'm just curious, where was your dad in all this? Was he a part of these conversations?
I
Or
don't think he was part of the conversations. We're strong women. We're going to do what we want to do, but he's always been a huge nurse. When my mom had her mastectomy in October of 2018, he took care of her. When I had my mastectomy in December of 2018, he was there to take care of me. So he's always been very supportive of what we want to do, very encouraging, but also always there once we made that decision. I think he knows that you can't change our minds.
Right. Right. He's learned that over the years.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
That
Okay.
if we say something, we're going to do it and everything. But he's a great nurse.
That's a terrific description. Men can be very nurturing and caring, and they're not as sometimes we think of them as being a little squeamish. But if they have to do something, they will. Mm-hmm. So, how did people react when you two said, "Well, I'm having a mastectomy. My mother just had one. We're going through our recovery together." What kind of reaction did you get?
That people were probably amazed. They felt bad that we had to go through this, but we've always been just a huge support system. Our friends and family have been very supportive.
Now, yours was for cancer, and yours was a prophylactic. How was the recovery different, or was it?
Well, I think seems like, and I don't know this for sure, but it seems like when you have cancer, it's just more invasive. Although they take the breast tissue out of both, but it just seems more invasive.
We have very different surgeries.
But yeah, so I had my the tummy fat taken, and to build my breast.
And I had implants.
And Rachel had implants. She didn't have the tummy fat. And so, I had to recover from like a tummy tuck and the breast. But
So your recovery was much harder.
It was.
Because of the stomach and the boobs. Mine was just boobs.
right,
I was only in pain, a lot of pain for a couple days, whereas yours was a couple weeks.
and I stayed in the hospital for a week or for 5 days. I'm very thankful I was able to. That I work for a great company with good benefits, and I was allowed to stay there that long, which was very helpful to have the round the clock care, because when you do have that much surgery, it was very daunting. I know I was afraid to just on the ride home. I think I had Rachel and her then boyfriend or fiance come pick me up because she had the newest car, so I thought it would be smoother. And I waited and didn't go home till Saturday. I thought it would be less traffic. Just being in a car, just the movement. I was
Houston potholes.
Yeah, I was scared of that, but everything went great. And I had to stay home for 6 weeks to recover, and it was hard, but I had a lot of support, a lot of love and support.
Rachel,
you had drains and the whole bit too, right?
Oh, yeah. Had the drains. Those are very uncomfortable. Gross. Drain them all the time. But I'm glad I made the decision to go direct to implants, so I didn't have to do the expanders, because I heard that's very painful. So mine was not terrible. I will say when I went through my 4 surgeries after my mastectomy for the reconstruction, those were more painful. Liposuction hurts. And so
yes.
people don't talk about it enough. It is painful. And you have to wear this tight compression after. It was, those were almost as painful as the mastectomy. The drains were definitely uncomfortable. Getting them out was a weird feeling, but it wasn't terrible. If people think that the pain is a barrier to having the surgery, it's not. It's more that you're mentally prepared, spiritually prepared, and have a support system.
So did you feel like you were mentally prepared?
I did. I thought I was mentally prepared. I definitely was not mentally prepared. When you're 25, you think you know everything. You think you have it all figured out. You definitely don't. I was confident in the decision because of what my mom was going through, but I definitely didn't know how it would impact how I felt as a woman, how I felt being feminine, how I would feel in a relationship. I wasn't ready. And I definitely had some regrets. I went through a lot of hard times. I had to come to terms with my new body. And you don't have I wouldn't say you don't have as much support, because you have support from your family, but people don't understand why you went through it, what BRCA is, what a pre-vivor is. Why would you go through something when it's not a diagnosis? What if you never got diagnosed with cancer and you decided to make this decision? So there was a lot of...
Did people ask you that? Did they actually
I did.
bring that
So
up?
I posted on my Instagram. I was very open, and I said I'm having, a mastectomy because I have the BRCA gene. I got a lot of questions about what the BRCA gene is, how you get tested for it, because a lot of my friends, their aunt or their grandmother, their mom had gone through ovarian or breast cancer, and they had never heard of the BRCA gene.
Ooh.
So there's a lot of people that haven't heard of it, that don't know what it is, that don't know insurance, if insurance will cover, who they talk to about getting tested for the BRCA gene. There's not a lot of information out there that's shown to them. I'm sure if you go seeking it, that's one thing, but it's not the forefront of people's minds that there is this testing available to see if you do have a higher risk of developing.
Could be predisposed to it, yes.
Definitely.
Now, but that's so interesting, because where do we really get our information? It's from our friends. Mm-hmm. It's from the people we trust the most. And that's often why here at the Rose we're always saying, tell your girlfriend, get your mammogram. Don't let them let a lump go by. For you, when you found your lump after childbirth, after you couldn't really breastfeed, right. But you never hesitated, did you, to go and have it checked out?
No, because it was a large, very large lump, I thought. And no, I went right away and got the mammogram, because I've always believed knowledge is power. Mm-hmm. And so I needed to know what it was and to deal with it right away.
Had you had mammograms before, or was that your first?
No.
They didn't start them that early.
because they back then, and I don't know, they started them at 40, and I was 34. So, and my bosses had some doctor friends that told them, oh, she's way too young to have cancer. She doesn't have breast cancer. And I was like, yeah, they don't know. There was so much knowledge they didn't have yet.
Well, but it still exists today, believe me, and it's not just within the medical community. We have so many conflicting messages about mammography, about age, about being young. Mm-hmm. And, we 25% of our patients that are diagnosed are 45 or younger.
Wow.
Now, that's young.
Very.
And so we hear this story all the time. I had this lump for a while, but, they kept telling me I'm too young for a mammogram. And women have had to just barrel through and say, I'm getting a mammogram. You have to order me one. Big, big lesson for young women to do that and to really insist on what they know they need to have done. I think that's one of your stories and one of your messages. Find out about it. Don't be afraid to research and find out
Seek
what
it
you
out.
might
Ask
need.
the questions.
Yes. So now it's something I was very curious about. So many different generational misconceptions, practices, reactions. But when you were both working at the time that you had your surgeries, but you didn't have quite the support in the beginning as Rachel did.
Well, the first time, my first breast cancer, I was working for a company, and they didn't tell me, no, you can't have the time off, but they just weren't as supportive. One of the partners told me that when I left, that it's something that it cost them a lot of money. So that was, but that was back in 93 or 92, I don't remember exactly, and I just thought that was really rude. Now, the second time I had cancer, I worked for, and I still do, I work for Shell, and they were so supportive because that same year, I'd had a full knee replacement in March, and I was, went through, and I was off for 6 weeks then, and I had to go through therapy, and then here comes July or August, and during my checkup, which I never missed a checkup, and I went every 6 months. They found the second breast cancer, and I had the double mastectomy in October, and my manager and the company was so supportive. I had to take off another 6 weeks, and I was so lucky, so blessed that I was with such a great company and had such good people around me, and family and friends, and
Good benefits.
yes, great benefits.
And that, in the population the Rose serves, about a fourth of our ladies don't have that access, don't have that ability. But for you, Rachel, it was just a given. Your company was behind you, supportive.
So supportive. So I started with my company in August of 2016, Camillo Companies. And when I told them I was having a prophylactic mastectomy, no, there wasn't cancer. I was, this was elective. This was my choice. They were very supportive. I took off, I think, 5 weeks early in my career. It was a very stressful time, with a lot going on in the real estate market. And they were like, take all the time you need. We are still a women-run company. And not only did they let me take the time, but now they've let me instill a lot of practices in our company. So bringing the mammogram bus to our office in October, donating to various charities that impact our employee base. So they are very pro-health. They're very pro take the time you need to take care of yourself. And I'm so grateful. That was one of the main factors was I going to lose my job? So early in your career, it was my first job. I didn't want to lose my job only being there 2 years. I wanted to stay long term, and I've been there now almost 8 years. And I'm very grateful that I had that support. But I remember now why we also made the decision to do it when I was 25. I was on both insurances. So it was fully covered.
Yes.
If one insurance didn't pay for it, the other insurance did. And you being with Shell had also great benefits. So it was great from cost savings as well as timing.
Right.
Because cost is a big barrier.
Oh, yes.
You don't want the burden of all these medical bills.
No matter what, even if you have great insurance, there's still cost involved. People just don't realize how costly cancer is, how expensive it is. But you both agree, having that support of your employer is huge.
Huge.
I couldn't have done it without it.
It gives you peace of mind. You're not worrying about, am I still going to have my job? Am I going to be?
It's going to be weird when you come back.
Is something going to change in my career because of this? Or, being having the support of your employer is huge.
Big message for all employers to hear. And now, Rachel, go back to the mammography coach that the Rose takes to your building, right? Yeah. And why is that so important for your coworkers to have that?
So anytime you have an appointment, most of the time it's going to be in the med center. It's going to be a far drive. Our office is off 290 in Hollister, so it's not close to the med center by any means. And we had some complaints that a lot of people and women weren't going to get these tests done because they had to take off a whole day of work. Not that they couldn't take off, but because it was just inconvenient. And so we always listen to the feedback of our teams. And so we made it a best practice of ours to bring the mammogram bus, to bring the bus for them to donate blood, to bring the resources to them, to make it easier for them, to ensure that they have these tests done on time, and to put it front of mind. You know, you can put these tests off, but when you have a huge pink bus out in your parking lot, it reminds you to have these things done. Whether it's your first time, your fifth time, it doesn't matter. It's right there in front of your face.
And what our patients tell us that have had the mammogram on the mobile mammography coach is 75% of them would not have had that mammogram that year had we not been there. And, you know, we diagnose women all year long through that coach. And it's just scary to me to think they wouldn't have even had it. It could have gone on for another 2 or 3 years before they had it.
Sometimes you never realize how long you push things off.
Oh,
I'm bad about the
absolutely.
dentist. I'm like, I'll push it off a little bit before you know it's been
And
8
who's
months.
the one that's most often calling you? All right, it's your time.
Oh,
you know,
totally.
Yes.
Sending you birthday emails and everything.
Absolutely. We do need those reminders. Life is busy.
Very.
We're involved. It's really important to have the support of your family, your community, and your employer. And, of course, these community resources. You know, I do feel strongly our mobile mammography coach is our biggest mission, taking it out there. But I want you to spend just 2 minutes telling us about EWI because, you know, I think of all the stories that both of you have told me, it has to do with women, supporting women, and having strong women around you to get us through those tough times. So, Linda, you've been president of it.
Yep.
Tell us what the organization is. Start with that.
It is executive assistants and now other positions, companies all over Houston. We do have it's mostly women. We do have a few male members now, and we do a lot of philanthropy. We give scholarships away to high school students and also to a group of people that's called ASSIST, Adults in Scholastic Transition. If maybe somebody couldn't finish college or couldn't go to college because they maybe had a baby or something happened in their life, then we have that ASSIST program for scholarships. We do reading rally every year at an elementary school. We support the Rose every year, and it's I have so many friends now through EWI and colleagues, and it's a great networking system.
All executive level women working within well, a few men, but within the fields. But you also have many programs that are just for each other, just to help you understand what's going on in the business world.
Right.
Yes.
Right. We do. We have professional development every year for everyone. My most thing that I love most are the people I've met, the friendships I've made throughout the years. When somebody I work with needs something and they're not sure, who to go to, I can reach out to any member of the EWI all over the country and get information for them or get a lead for them or get a connection for them. It's a great organization.
Is this something you have to be nominated into?
No.
Okay.
No. You just reach out to our membership director, and we send you a package, and you can apply. And we're looking for new members now, and it's a great organization.
So, there's just two things that I want to add to that. First of all, one of my employees benefited from your program that was ASSIST and now has gone on to get her master's. And she's just amazing. I was so pleased that worked for her. But the other thing is having this network. Rachel, you've mentioned that many times, just having those people around you that were there to support. Do you know so many women's organizations really went under during COVID? Mm-hmm. And to know that EWI is there, that it's still strong, that you could, you have those connections. We are all hungry for connection. we're all lonely in so many ways.
And we need
think
it. It's hard to meet other women. I mean, I grew up with the women in EWI. How long have you been in EWI?
Oh, gosh, I think since 2005.
So I grew up around all those women. And, and when she says she's made a lot of friends, she has way more friends than I could ever imagine having, which is incredible. I want to have that many friends. A small group of friends from EWI made an even smaller group called the Winettes, and I'm fortunate enough to be welcomed into that group of women my mother's age, but it doesn't matter the age. It's that support system. It's women supporting women. But it's been cool to grow up going to these dinners with my mom, seeing all these women supporting other women, seeing the network of women too. And it's hotels, it's banks, it's any organization. Once I'm done having all my babies, I'm excited to join too and be a part of EWI as well.
But they're mothers, they're successful women, strong. Yeah, it's just an amazing organization. It really is. And I think that's a great way to close up our session here, is the importance of each other.
Yeah, women need to support women.
Yes.
And thank you for what you do and the Rose does, because I know it's helped so many people.
We've had an incredible support from our communities, just like with EWI. But I think that probably the most important thing any of our supporters could do is be sure that other women know about us. We don't want anyone to have to go through this without help.
Right.
And there's so many out there that still don't. So thank y'all for helping us to share that. Thank you both for being with us. Such great stories. We appreciate you and hope to have you back soon.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us today on Let's Talk About Your Breasts. This podcast is produced by Speak Podcasting and brought to you by The Rose. Visit therose.org to learn more about our organization. Subscribe to our podcast, share episodes with friends, and join the conversation on social media using hashtag Let's Talk About Your Breasts. We welcome your feedback and suggestions. Consider supporting The Rose. Your gift can make the difference to a person in need. And remember, self-care is not selfish. It's essential.